So I'm going to be giving you guys some beginner tips to help you get going in Nightreign. This video is not only for people who haven't played Nightreign before, it's also for people who have played the network test and have a basic understanding of the game. So some of these first tips are going to be for brand new players and a refresher for some of you who haven't played in a while, and then some of the later tips in this video are going to be kind of helping you as you make your way through the game in order to get the most out of it. So the first tip that I'm going to give you that you'll kind of figure out eventually is that there is a training area in Roundtable Hold that allows you to learn the moves of characters, practice with different weapons and skills, and sort of refresh your memory. If you're coming from Elden Ring and you haven't played Elden Ring in a long time, you might recognize some of these things, but other things you won't. And as you make your way through the game, you have limited time to look at what you're picking up. So it's a great way to learn the character's skills before you go out on the landscape and are not trying to figure it all out on the fly. You can do this in Roundtable Hold and spend time there in order to become more proficient with the character's skills, spells, etc. And something that's really handy is there is now a feature that will allow you to teleport anywhere in Roundtable Hold. If you bring up the menu and you pick a location on the menu there, you can go anywhere you want. So if you want to go to the sparring grounds in order to practice, you can just click it and it'll take you there. If you want to go back to expeditions, you can click it and it'll take you there. If you want to go to work on your relics, you can click it and it'll take you there. That way you don't have to remember where everything is in Roundtable Hold. Roundtable Hold is not very big and eventually you will memorize it, but at the very beginning you can save yourself time by just teleporting. The next thing is matchmaking and how to use the systems. When you first look at the matchmaking screen, it can be a bit overwhelming. But the first thing is you need to decide whether you want matchmaking on or off. This can affect your ping since it's P2P. So depending on whether you're okay with higher ping or not, you may want to turn this on or off. This is in your options. This isn't in the matchmaking screen. But I highly recommend at launch, if you're playing, probably turning this off unless you're playing with a friend from a different region, simply because this game is heavily affected by ping and it can be very hard for dodge, parry timings, blocking, etc. if you have 200 to 300 ping. Secondly, you can set options here for a group password or a matchmaking password, and these are a little bit different. The matchmaking password allows you to just set a password and then you're only playing with those people that are using that same password. So you could set a specific one for your 2 other friends, or maybe you have a community like ours. We're going to be using the password Fextra, F-E-X-T-R-A, all caps. So if you want to play with a Fextra Life community at launch, use that password. Anyone using that password is part of our community. And what's really handy about this feature as well is you can make it so that maybe you only have one friend you're playing with, so you can set password to 2 players, and then it can just pick up a third random player to fill out your group. So depending on how many friends you have or how many people you want to play with, if you're having a hard time getting a group, you can switch this around. The group password allows you to see asynchronous features of other people. So again, we're going to be using the Fextra password, all caps, for this, and this will allow you to see players that have died, their bloodstains, and other asynchronous features of the game. So generally speaking, if you're playing in a community, it'd probably be good to have this on, but then you can set your individual password if you just want to play with your friends, and you can leave that on. Or you can just not have it on and see, potentially random people's bloodstains. But as our community, we're going to be having the Fextra password. So moving a bit forward, as you actually load into the game, the first thing you're going to notice is the map. And you can actually turn on a detailed view of this map. You can toggle back and forth to kind of see where things are on the map. But learning how to read this map is a huge part of Elden Ring Nightreign. And there are various spawn points that you're going to spawn into depending on what boss you're facing and, some randomized elements. But you should be overall familiar with the general layout of the map, as this does not change a whole lot. Certain things will move around, like runes will move, and structures like forts and stuff will move around. But the general layout of the map will more or less be the same, from its topography and stuff like that. So you should get used to that. And something that's really handy is you can look at the elemental icons on structures and they will show you what sort of weaponry that you'll get from those places. For instance, if you go somewhere with a fire icon and you defeat the boss there, you'll likely get at least one fire weapon. Or if you go somewhere where there's a bleed icon, you might get a bleed weapon. So if you're a specific type of weapon that you're looking for, you definitely want to head to those places, and that can help you get the weapon that you need. Additionally, use your pins on your map to indicate where you think you should go next. Each character will have their own color pin, so you can see which player is indicating what, and this is really helpful if you're not on voice chat, which can really help if you're playing with other people. Being in voice chat can, but if not, use your pins, and when 2 people put a pin in the same location, it will turn white, and this means you kind of have a consensus. They agree that we should go in that location, and you can have more confidence if you head there, they will also head there. So try and pin things. Even if other players have pinned them too, so they know that you understand where to go. Another really basic tip, but for new players, is try and stay in a group when possible. Things always go better in a group in this game, and I highly recommend not starting out the game single player. In the multiplayer menu, you can actually go down to the bottom and change it to single player if you want. That's how you play single player. You won't have to wait for a group to do this. But the game, in my opinion, is not super well balanced for single players. There are some good players out there that won't have trouble. But if you're a brand new player to this, I highly recommend playing in a group and staying together. And the next thing is about relics. As you do runs in this game, whether you succeed or fail in your run at tackling a Night Lord, you will gain relics, and you can equip these in Round Table Hole on your characters, and they have different character color slots each, indicating that they can use different types of relics in those slots. And these relics can do all kinds of things. They can give you more stats, which can boost the damage that you do, or maybe give you more FP or more stamina, or they can make it so your starting weapon has like poison or bleed on it, or starts with fire, or that certain abilities for certain characters are stronger. There are a lot of different effects.